There is a reason these images can't simply be brushed aside. A reason they've become so uncomfortable, so controversial, and so difficult to explain away. Because these pictures don't exist in isolation. They place Meghan Markle within a wider orbit, one that includes Jeffrey Epstein, and that alone changes everything. Not because of a single moment frozen in time, but because of what those moments suggest when viewed together, in context, over years. It's now been widely discussed that she was present in environments where Epstein moved freely. And she wasn't alone. Names like Virginia Roberts surface, John Lee too, individuals who were part of the same elite social circle. People whose lives intersected repeatedly at the same parties, the same yachts, the same private gatherings. Friends, associates, and insiders have spoken of invitations, yacht trips, exclusive events, whispers that trace back far earlier than most people realize. As early as the Tutarko years, there are suggestions that these connections were already forming, already operating quietly in the background. She was traveling frequently, New York especially, again and again. And notably, she was in New York during the same period Prince Andrew was there, for nearly an entire month in September of 2013. These overlaps raise questions. Not accusations, but questions that refuse to disappear. At the same time, there was a carefully constructed narrative, one designed to appear clean, simple, aspirational. A story polished just enough to prevent scrutiny. And yet, even then, cracks were visible. From luxury yachts to private memberships, from elite access points to circles few outsiders ever see. The story never fully aligned. Then comes the moment of reckoning. Prince Harry slowly, painfully began uncovering the world Meghan had moved through long before she entered his. And the realization wasn't explosive. It wasn't dramatic. There were no screaming matches, no sudden confrontations. Instead, it was quieter than that. 3 weeks. 3 sleepless, miserable weeks. Weeks where the fairy tale began to sour, where doubt crept in late at night. The kind of doubt that grows when you're scrolling when you should be sleeping, replaying conversations, images, details you were never meant to examine twice. It began with questions. Simple ones. Where did the money come from? How was she flying business class across the world as a struggling actress? How did she maintain access to elite spaces that even successful professionals struggled to enter? Take one example. In 2006, Meghan Markle appears at a Hamptons party. Not just any party, but one attended by Jeffrey Epstein. The Hamptons are not casual. Entry into those circles is not accidental. Presence there implies invitation, endorsement, familiarity. And then there's Soho House. To outsiders, Soho House is marketed as something harmless, a creative hub, an artsy private club with mood lighting and overpriced cocktails, a networking space for creatives. That's the image sold to the public. The reality is far more calculated. Soho House isn't just a club, it's a filter, a sorting room, a place where ambition is quietly separated from opportunity, where access is controlled, curated, and rewarded strategically. Not everyone gets through, and those who do rarely arrive by chance. At the time, Meghan Markle was bluntly a nobody in industry terms, a minor cable actress, not a star, not bankable, and yet doors opened, memberships multiplied, cities expanded, access deepened. Soho House does not hand out global memberships casually. It's expensive, highly selective, and above all, intentional. Harry knew this world better than he liked to admit. In his party years, he'd brushed past it repeatedly. Models who never seemed to work, actresses who never auditioned, consultants with endless money and nowhere to be. Everyone played along. Everyone pretended it was normal. But nothing about Soho House is normal. Nothing is casual. When Harry spotted that navy Soho House bag on a yacht years later, it wasn't nostalgia that hit him. It was recognition. Immediate, sharp. This wasn't a random luxury vacation. This wasn't coincidence. It was a controlled environment. A curated space where people didn't just party, they positioned themselves. And Meghan hadn't just passed through once or twice. She'd been embedded, multiple cities, multiple memberships, endless access. That level of inclusion is unusual, especially for someone without the resume to justify it on paper. Harry began replaying memories with fresh eyes. Why had she been present in London circles long before she had any professional reason to be there? Why did introductions always come so easily? Why did she always seem to know exactly who mattered, without ever explaining how? The more he thought about it, the less it felt like luck. It felt like alignment. As though someone, somewhere, had been quietly making sure she was always exactly where she needed to be, even before she knew why. Even her romantic pursuits followed a pattern. There was Richard Herring, for example, who reportedly found her too old, too uninteresting, and largely dismissed her. But rejection didn't deter her. It became a mission, a goal, something to conquer. And when she didn't succeed, she moved on, efficiently, always forward, always upward. Underneath Soho House sat an entire ecosystem: the Ivy, sexy fish, private restaurants, investment arms, power nodes layered beneath lifestyle branding. In 2019, a quarter of that empire was sold for staggering sums, reportedly involving Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabr Al Thani, with figures floating around the $300 million mark. This wasn't a social club, it was infrastructure. And suddenly, everything clicked. What once looked like coincidence began to resemble choreography. What once seemed like ambition looked more like placement. Harry didn't uncover this in a single moment. It came slowly, painfully, piece by piece. The kind of realization that doesn't explode, it corrodes. By the time the truth began to take shape, the humiliation wasn't public yet. It was personal. And by then it was already too late.